So it's an excellent property, about 3,600 square feet in Florida again. We were looking at that market very closely. And it's minutes from the beach. I think it's a very desirable area, certainly a rare property that it's hard to come by in those tough markets. And the asking price again, 1.4. We ended up paying 1.2, so 200K off. And again, a lot of that negotiation was done by Ardo and his team, and just knowing the local market and his contacts on the ground, we were able to find out things about the property that otherwise you would never know. And I think it was an excellent deal for us. Well, I'm a robotic urological surgeon who specializes in oncology and reconstructive surgery. I've been doing this for quite a while, and also have experience in medtech device development and enterprise in medicine. I do teach robotic surgical techniques across the country and internationally, and we have been very successful here in the US, spreading minimally invasive surgery over the past decade and a half. So most of us who are in an employed situation with a W-2 are looking at ways where we can save some on our taxes. And the taxes have certain codes that allow us to maximize our savings, and in turn we can contribute to society by taking advantage of these tax laws. Now, when I was searching, I came across various different topics, various different folks that advertise that they can help you with tax savings, whether it's through real estate or other modalities. And I came across Arda and some of the podcasts that he had done in the past, and I listened to him and I compared, and I thought that he knew what he was talking about. He knew what the field was like, and he also had a clientele that really spoke to me, and he would likely understand my particular situation as a physician. So, as most physicians who are employed, we pay a lot in taxes. And I knew that one of the ways that I can spread my portfolio and expand my portfolio is by getting into real estate. However, time is of the essence when you're talking about real estate, and majority of us just don't have the time or expertise to sit down and evaluate properties, evaluate ROIs, evaluate the management of these properties. And so it's vital, I believe, to have someone that has experience and has the time and is willing to work with our schedules, which are very demanding, to come up with a portfolio plan that makes sense for each individual physician. I think it was excellent because what we did is an intake process where my wife and I sat down with Arda, and we went through our needs and our goals and what we really wanted to accomplish out of this relationship. And we also set down some timelines, and we said, let's get this started, because time is really important to us. We want to make sure we utilize our time wisely. And then we had a weekly cadence where we went through properties, we went through the different deals that are potentially available. We made suggestions, we received a lot of advice, and we really didn't have to put as much of the legwork into it, which was really important to us. All of it was done by Arda and his team, and so it really helped us understand the field. So it was very educational to us, but also it allowed us to save on the time that we didn't really have. Yeah, so the analysis was excellent because we would receive a very detailed report on the property, on comparables, on the cost to maintain the property, the potential renovation cost, the potential staging cost, as well as what the gross and net cash flows would be. And then we made a very educated decision. And without those metrics, without data, and us physicians are very data driven, without data, you really can't make good decisions. And seeing that in front of you, and it's very different than just looking at a Zillow or some other listing online. You're looking at hard data, hard comparables. You're making really good projections in terms of growth and what you would expect. And none of these were inflated. They were very reasonable. We actually underestimated a lot of the costs and revenues, which made me comfortable understanding that, hey, at the minimum, we're going to probably get to this goal, and that really made us comfortable moving forward with the property we eventually did. And I think a big differentiator is, a lot of times you can do online work and maybe hire someone to do online type of research for you, but the boots on the ground are important. And Arda has a vast network where he knows local folks, local operators, local experts in various markets that really can give us insight that otherwise you can't get anywhere else. And these folks then allow much more in-depth analysis of the properties. And I think that's one of the biggest factors and biggest benefits of this service. Absolutely. So we looked at, beaches, for example, in Florida, 1.4 million asking. We negotiated about 100K off, but the seller wouldn't allow a proper inspection. And Arda was very quick to advise us, hey, this is not right. This doesn't look correct, and let's walk away. Because again, at the end of the day, we're looking for a deal that's going to work, that's not going to put us in a hole. And so following his advice, we walked away, and I think we did the right thing looking at it back now, in terms of what happened to that property. So certainly it's not a first property you buy and you're going to be successful. This is a process. So it's an excellent property, about 3,600 square feet in Florida. Again, we were looking at that market very closely. And it's minutes from the beach. I think it's a very desirable area, certainly a rare property that it's hard to come by in those tough markets. And the asking price, again, 1.4. So we ended up paying 1.2, so 200K off. And again, a lot of that negotiation was done by Ardo and his team, and just knowing the local market and his contacts on the ground, we were able to find out things about the property that otherwise you would never know. And I think it was an excellent deal for us. Yeah, so we were pre-approved by multiple lenders, multiple banks. So the seller knew that we were serious buyers, and that's very important when you get to the negotiation table, so that people know who you are, what you're doing, and that you're a serious candidate for the deal. And Arda personally also got involved and figured out where the seller was for this property, what the motivations were, which again, some things that are really difficult otherwise to obtain, and what would eventually get the seller to say yes to our offer. And that, I think, was the secret sauce. No, so that's the benefit of this. I'm in the operating room. I don't have time. My wife, is not able to do that, and so it was crucial that Arda handled everything in the background with his team, and the seller, we're in constant communication with them. The real estate agents were in communication with them, and essentially, I would receive the key decision making ability by listening to him and for him to digest the information for me. And then I would say, okay, based on the information he's giving me, this is a good deal. This is not a good deal. We want to proceed. And, his advice has been really great so far. I think we're projected to probably save over 140 grand in taxes this year through various tax laws that are applicable here. And this is real money that, stays with us, that we can use to invest further. We can invest into our future, maybe look at the retirement at a younger age, because you want to really become financially more independent. And that's the goal I think all of us have. now, working day in, day out, and you can do that only for so long, and it's important to diversify your portfolio in a way that makes sense. And real estate has always been one of the biggest tools since the age of dawn. So we really are happy about this and are looking forward to future growth of the portfolio. So my goal and my our goal here, our family's goal, is to continue with at least one property a year till we have a large portfolio that allows us to essentially walk away from typical W-2 work if we wanted to. And I think that's the goal of majority of my colleagues in medicine as well, where we want to do medicine because we love the field, we love helping people, but don't have to be dependent on the W-2 that comes in. And this is really the thing that's going to stabilize and diversify the portfolio to allow for that financial future. Absolutely. I think, like I said, for us, time is so valuable. And even though we learned quite a bit through this process, the aspect of the time saved by having the team here help us is just something we are not going to go without. And the advice, the expertise, the boots on the ground they have, the contacts they have, all of it is so valuable that we want to just continue with this process, and we want to continue with hopefully one property a year, and perhaps even more. You never know what the future holds, but I think that's our baseline goal right now. And the team here is absolutely going to be part of that process. I think we should look into it, and I did a lot of research. I spent probably over a year and a half looking at options, and what I found out is that at the end of the day, you have to execute on your ideas and on what you're wanting to achieve. And Arda was that bridge for me to execute on this, because as physicians, you never know, what schedule you're going to end up with, how busy you might be. You get home from work tired, and, am I going to sit on the computer and look at these things and try to analyze them? It's just not feasible for majority of us. And so I think all physicians should look at this as a serious option, as something that does work, that is certainly has withstood the test of time. Real estate is nothing new. You just have to have the experts that can help you achieve your goals. And I always say, you may not be the smartest person in the room when it comes to real estate or investing. You just have to have the smartest people in the room with you that advise you. And I think Arthur's team has done that for us.